I found the messages by accident, but what I discovered about my partner didn't just break my heart, it made me question my own sanity. I still don't know if I should expose them or myself. Welcome to Reddit Toxic Family Telltales channel. New episode every day. How did I find out the disgusting stains on my bed weren't even mine? I'll never forget the way my roommate Jenna stood in my doorway one afternoon, holding up my comforter like it was radioactive. Her face was twisted in pure disgust. "Girl, what the hell is this?" she asked, pointing at the stiff, crusty patches right in the middle of my fitted sheet. I blinked at her, thrown off. "This is nasty. When's the last time you even got laid?" I hadn't been with anyone in months. 4 to be exact. Not since Nicholas and I split. And yet, these stains? They were fresh. That sharp chemical bleach smell was still in the air, strong enough to make me gag. My stomach dropped. "Those aren't mine," I said slowly. Jenna laughed, rolling her eyes. "Right. Must have been the / fairy." But deep down I knew. I'd been out of town all weekend, staying at my mom's for my sister's baby shower. I'd left Friday morning, came back Sunday night. The bed was clean when I left. I always keep it clean, hospital corners, crisp sheets every Sunday. I know my bed better than anyone. These stains weren't here before. "Were you in my room while I was gone?" I asked carefully. Her face flickered, just for a second, before she plastered on confusion. "Why would I go in your room?" "I don't know. That's why I'm asking." "You're being paranoid. Maybe they're old and you just now noticed." "No. Not possible. I knew every inch of my sheets. These were new." That night as I climbed into bed, something else caught my eye, a long brown hair lying across my pillow. Not auburn like Jenna always insisted hers was. No, this was straight up brown. And then another clue, a tiny earring back sitting on my nightstand. Not mine. I held it up. "Hey, Jenna? Did someone lose an earring back?" She appeared in my doorway. "Nope. Why?" "Found it on my nightstand." She shrugged. "Weird. Maybe it's been there forever." "Forever? No chance. I'd scrubbed that nightstand just before leaving for the weekend. So the next weekend I tested her. I packed a bag, announced loudly that I was heading to my mom's again, and even gave her a cheerful goodbye. Then I drove 3 blocks down to Starbucks and camped out there for hours. When I finally came back, I crept up to the door. Locked. Good. I slid my key in, opened it quietly, and froze. Voices. From my room. Jenna's laugh carried through the air. "She won't be back until tomorrow," she was saying. "Her bed's so much better than mine." My bed. My sheets. I stood in the living room, every muscle in my body shaking as I listened to them. The squeaking. The moans. The sound of my bed being used. I wanted to throw the door open right then, but I needed proof. So I hit record on my phone and then, on purpose, dropped my keys loudly. "Oh, / I heard her mutter. Scrambling footsteps. The door creaked open and there was Jenna standing in my doorway, wearing my robe. "You're back early," she said, her voice too bright, too fake. "Who's in there?" "What?" "Nobody. I was just looking for my phone charger." The window in my room was wide open, leading to the fire escape. But under my bed? 2 giant men's shoes sticking out plain as day. "Those are some big shoes for a phone charger," I said. Her face flushed crimson. "Okay, fine. I had someone over. But my bed's broken. Yours is better. And get out of my room." A guy crawled out from under my bed. Tom. The same Tom she'd sworn was just a friend from her marketing class. The same Tom she'd been hanging out with while dating her boyfriend Alex. When they finally left, I just stood there, staring at the wreckage. My sheets freshly stained again. My pillows on the floor. The entire room reeked of sweat and Jenna's sickly vanilla perfume. "It's not a big deal," she called from the doorway. "I'll wash your sheets." "How many times?" I demanded. She blinked. "What? How many times have you used my bed?" She shrugged like it was nothing. "I don't know. A couple." I yanked out my phone and pulled up my calendar. Every single weekend I'd been away. Every double shift I'd worked overnight. "So all those times? You were in here." "You're never home," she said with a casual shrug. "And your bed's way better than mine. My mattress is basically on the floor." "So you've been screwing Tom in my bed while you're dating Alex?" Her expression shifted hard. "That's none of your business." "It is when you're cheating in my bed." She stepped closer, her voice dropping. "You're not going to tell him." "Watch me." That's when she pulled out the crazy. "If you say a word, I'll tell everyone you gave me bed bugs." "What?" "I'll post it everywhere. Instagram, apartment reviews, tag you so no one ever wants to live with you again." I laughed, thinking she was bluffing. But then she showed me, fake photos of bug bites on her arm, a fake exterminator receipt. She'd prepared this, waiting for the day I might catch her. "You're psychotic," I whispered. "I'm practical," she said flatly. "Keep your mouth shut and I'll stop using your room." But she didn't. She never stopped. So I got desperate. I hid a camera inside a stuffed bear on my dresser. And sure enough, the very next day, while I was stuck at a double shift, Jenna and Tom were right back in my bed. When I confronted her with the footage, she smirked. "You recorded me without consent? That's illegal. I could sue you." And she was right. In our state, recording someone in a private space without consent was a felony. But what about her breaking into my room? Her answer? "We're roommates. I was just checking if you left the window open. Tom happened to be here. Things happened. Prove otherwise." I was trapped. She had Alex convinced she was at study groups. Our mutual friends thought I was the crazy one. She even told our landlord I was harassing her. Then last week it got worse. I found out she'd made copies of my key. And not just for Tom. Multiple guys had access to my room. Proof? A text from one of Tom's friends, asking if I had a spare key because his wasn't working. Strangers. With keys. To my bedroom. I remember staring at my phone, shaking so hard I laughed. But it wasn't the funny kind of laugh, it was cracked, broken, the kind of sound that scared me more than crying would have. I grabbed my laptop, searching frantically for emergency locksmiths. 24-hour service, immediate installation, glowing reviews. Perfect. Then I froze. My lease. Any lock changes needed landlord approval, 48 hours notice minimum. Jenna would report me instantly, she'd done it before when I tried to install a door chain. So I slammed the laptop shut, shoved a chair under my doorknob and slept on the couch. The couch felt safer than my ruined bed anyway. But that night around 3 a.m. I heard it. Someone trying a key in our front door. The lock turned halfway then stopped. Heavy footsteps retreated down the hall. I didn't sleep another second. The next morning at work, my hands trembled so badly I nearly dropped a tray of 8 breakfast plates and 4 coffees. Jasmine, my coworker, caught the tray just in time. She pulled me aside during break into the storage room. "What's going on?" she asked gently. I opened my mouth to say nothing, but instead everything poured out. The bed. The stains. The keys. The fake bedbug blackmail. By the time I finished I was crying so hard I couldn't breathe. Jasmine listened without interrupting, then pulled out her phone. "My cousin went through something just like this. There's a tenant rights clinic downtown that helped her." She made me save the number right there. And in that moment, I realized this wasn't just a nightmare roommate situation anymore. It was war. After my shift I sat in my car, hands still trembling from carrying trays all morning, and dialed the housing clinic. The receptionist put me through to a woman named Leilani Waters. Her voice was calm, steady, like someone who had handled nightmares like mine before. I told her everything. The stains, the threats, the keys. The hidden camera I couldn't legally use. "You're right," she said firmly, "recording without consent is illegal in your state. But that doesn't mean you're powerless. You need to start documenting everything properly, photos, timestamps, written logs of each incident. File a police report about the unauthorized key distribution. They may not be able to press charges right away, but it creates a paper trail. That's how you protect yourself." She gave me the address of the nearest precinct, and I drove there immediately. The officer at the desk looked bone-tired, but he listened. He typed carefully as I explained, the duplicate keys, the bedroom violations, the fake bed bug smear campaign. "Without proof of who has these keys, we can't do much right now," he admitted. "But this goes in the system." He slid a paper across the desk, a case number. Proof. The drive home felt endless, every red light dragging. When I finally opened the apartment door, my stomach turned to ice. My bedroom door was cracked open. I knew I'd closed it. Triple-checked before leaving. Inside, the sheets were pulled back, pillows tossed, furniture shifted. And in the trash? A condom wrapper. The sour smell hit me instantly, making me gag. This time I didn't touch anything. I snapped photos of everything, close-ups, wide shots, timestamps in every frame. I wrote down details in the email body, attached the photos, and sent it to myself for backup. Then I forwarded it all to Leilani with the police case number. Within minutes she replied, "This is exactly what we need to build your case." That night I couldn't face my apartment. Jasmine insisted I crash at her place. Her little studio, cluttered and warm, felt more like home than my own bedroom did. I actually slept. The next morning she drove me back to grab work clothes. Jenna was in the kitchen, pouring coffee like she hadn't violated my life in every way possible. She looked up with a smirk. "Sleep well?" she asked. I didn't answer. Just grabbed my uniform and walked out. At work I couldn't stop refreshing my phone, waiting for updates from Leilani. She told me the key distribution alone could justify a restraining order since it created a clear safety risk. During lunch I pulled out my laptop and built a spreadsheet, every incident I could remember. Dates times what I found. When I looked at it laid out, the pattern was undeniable, every overnight shift, every weekend trip, every time I wasn't home, my room was used. Jasmine even reminded me of little things I'd forgotten, the strange deodorant in my bathroom, my jewelry box moved. Details that seemed paranoid alone but built a damning picture together. Then came Leilani's call. Another tenant filed a complaint against Jenna 2 years ago. Details are sealed, but it shows a pattern. We can request those records. And one more thing, you can install a door sensor. Totally legal. It just monitors your own door, not common areas. That night, I ordered one for overnight delivery. The next morning, as I unpacked the sensor, there was a knock on the door. Ryan, the building's maintenance guy, stood there with his toolbox. Clipboard in hand. "Got a work order, says you've got a heating issue?" "I didn't call in any heating problem," I said cautiously, but I let him in anyway. He checked the radiator, then I asked, trying to sound casual, "Actually, could you look at my bedroom lock? Feels kind of loose." Ryan knelt down, twisted the knob, ran his fingers along the plate. His whole expression shifted. "Someone's been tampering with this," he said quietly. He pointed at faint scratches etched around the lock. "See? That's from someone trying to copy the key pattern." I froze. Ryan glanced around, lowering his voice. "I can't officially say anything, but if this lock happened to break while I was inspecting it, we'd have to replace it immediately. Emergency protocol." I nodded quickly. He slipped his screwdriver into the mechanism, twisted until a sharp crack echoed. Then he was on the phone with the office. Lock failed during maintenance. Needs urgent replacement. The landlord approved it instantly. Broken locks are a security liability. As Ryan filled out paperwork, my phone buzzed. A text from Alex. Asterisk, can we talk? Coffee? Asterisk. My chest tightened. Jenna must have started spinning her stories already. I told Ryan I'd be back shortly and drove to the cafe 3 blocks over. Alex was already there, hunched at a corner table, his coffee untouched. His eyes looked hollow. The first words out of his mouth. Is Jenna cheating on me? I froze mid-step. He explained, Tom had gotten drunk at a party, let something slip. I sat down, carefully choosing my words. I can't share everything for legal reasons, I said softly, but your suspicions are valid. His face went pale when I told him about the keys. About multiple men having access to my room. I've been paying half her rent, he whispered, disgust dripping from every syllable. And she's been using your room for this? We talked quietly for 10 more minutes. He promised to back me up with testimony if needed. For the first time, I felt like maybe I wasn't alone. Back at the apartment, the locksmith was finishing the new installation under Ryan's watch. A solid deadbolt this time. I took all 3 keys straight from the locksmith's hands, no chance for Jenna to snatch one. 1 key went into my locker at work, another to Jasmine, and the last stayed with me. That evening, right on cue, Jenna's key scraped uselessly against my door. Then came the banging. Why the // did you change the lock? Open this door. I kept my voice calm, speaking through the door. Maintenance replaced a broken lock. Safety issue. I have the work order if you need it. Her fist slammed the doorframe once more before she stormed off, yelling into her phone. I could hear her pacing, voice raised, making call after call. Plotting her next move. And for the first time I had the sickening realization, this wasn't ending here. The next morning my phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Messages poured in from people I hadn't spoken to in weeks. Are you okay? One mutual friend asked. Jenna says you're having some kind of breakdown. Another text, asterisk, Jenna's worried about you. She said you're unstable and maybe you need help, asterisk. By noon my phone looked like a hotline. 3 more messages, all echoing the same thing, concern for my mental health, suggestions to seek professional help, sympathy for Jenna having to live with someone so unpredictable. I wanted to scream. To tell them all the truth, the stains, the threats, the stolen keys. But Leilani had warned me, asterisk, don't fight her lies with emotion. Keep documenting. Stay calm. Let the evidence speak later, asterisk. So I swallowed the anger and typed neutral replies. Asterisk, thanks for checking in. I'm fine, asterisk short. Bland. Exactly the kind of thing Jenna wouldn't expect. Meanwhile, Jasmine was the only one who saw through the act. She texted me from a coffee shop near campus, saying she'd overheard Jenna bragging, spinning these elaborate stories about my erratic behavior to anyone who would listen. That night, when my door sensor pinged and showed no movement, I felt a rare flicker of relief. At least now Jenna couldn't get into my room anymore. Still, Jasmine was worried. During break at work, she grabbed my arm and said, you should stay at my place a few nights a week. I don't trust her not to escalate. Her studio was tiny, barely room for both of us, but it had something priceless, working locks and a doorman who actually paid attention. I nearly cried when she offered. Just having someone believe me after weeks of being painted as crazy felt like oxygen. That night I went home to grab a bag. As I dug through my filing box for essentials, my heart sank. My documents, my birth certificate, social security card, passport, had been shuffled out of order. My passport was open to the photo page. My bank statements pulled out of their folder. Someone had rifled through the most personal parts of my life. My hands shook as I stuffed everything valuable, papers, laptop, my grandmother's jewelry, into a backpack. I wasn't leaving them for Jenna to paw through again. The next morning I was at Jasmine's, still in my pajamas eating cereal when Leilani called. Her voice had that edge that meant something big. We found another tenant who filed a complaint about Jenna 2 years ago, she said. Same type of behavior. The records were sealed, but she gave me the first name. On my lunch break I scoured Facebook and Instagram until I found her profile, old pictures tagged at my building. My message was blunt, asterisk, I think we had the same roommate. Can we talk, asterisk? She replied within an hour, asterisk, I've been waiting for someone else to reach out. I knew she'd do it again, asterisk. That evening I called her and the story she told made my stomach twist. Jenna had done everything to her that she'd done to me. Using her bed. Copying her keys. Inviting men over. And when caught, she turned the tables, threats, blackmail, making friends believe the other girl was unstable. Eventually the tenant gave up. Broke her lease. Lost her deposit. Paid penalties. But she said it was worth it just to get away. Armed with that, I set a meeting with my landlord. Leilani came as my advocate. His office smelled like old coffee and paper, and he looked more interested in his phone than me. I laid out the evidence, the other tenant's testimony, my police report, the pattern of harassment. He shrugged, muttering about no concrete proof. But when Leilani calmly reminded him about his liability if something happened because of the unauthorized keys, his tune changed. He agreed to send Jenna a formal warning letter. 2 days later, I was in the kitchen pouring coffee when Jenna's scream split the air. She burst out of her room, waving the letter. Her face was blotchy red, her voice shaking with rage. You're trying to get me evicted. She shrieked. I'll make your life so miserable you'll beg to move out. I just stood there, mug in hand, letting her rage bounce off me. My silence seemed to fuel her fire. That night at 2 a.m., bass shook my walls. Music so loud my bed vibrated. I texted her to turn it down. She shot back, asterisk, I'm studying. You're paranoid again. It's not that loud, asterisk. The music stopped at 2:45 a.m., 15 minutes before the noise ordinance allowed me to call the cops. And it happened again. Every night. Always starting around 2. Always ending at 2:45. I documented everything, screenshots, timestamps, recordings of the pounding bass. On the 5th night, as my head throbbed from lack of sleep, my phone lit up. It was Alex. I broke up with her, his text said. She admitted she gave out your keys. I'll testify if you need me. For the first time in weeks, hope cracked through the exhaustion. I typed back, asterisk thank you. I'll definitely take you up on that, asterisk. The music cut off like clockwork at 2:45. I collapsed into shallow sleep around 4 a.m., dragging myself into work hours later looking like death. My manager pulled me aside, eyes narrowing. You look awful. What's going on? I gave her the short version, my roommate blasting music at night just to mess with me. She sighed, shaking her head. Drop the doubles. Just work normal shifts until you sort this out. The relief nearly broke me. I wanted to cry right there by the service station. Actual rest. Actual sleep. It changed everything. By the next week I could think again. Make plans, not just react. Jasmine noticed too. She introduced me to a friend who worked security. That night he came over with a tiny door sensor, even smaller than the last one, nearly invisible once installed. It synced to my phone. Now, he said, you'll know every time that door opens. And it's 100% legal, your private space. Perfect. The next day at work, my phone buzzed 3 times. Door alerts. 10:15 a.m. Jenna should have been in class. 1:30 p.m. She claimed to be in a study group. 3:45 p.m. supposed internship hours. Each alert came with screenshots of her own posts, her schedule, her alibis. Proof that while she told the world she was elsewhere, she was inside my room. That night, I forwarded everything to Leilani. Her response came quick, asterisk this is good. It shows a clear pattern of unauthorized entry and lying about her whereabouts. Strong case for either a lease violation or letting you break it without penalty, asterisk. And for the first time it felt like maybe, just maybe, Jenna was running out of moves. I was reading Leilani's latest email when someone knocked. I opened the door to Ryan from maintenance with his tool bag in one hand and a professional smile glued on. Smoke detector check, he announced, loud enough for Jenna to hear through her door, then dropped his voice to a whisper. Need to tell you something. He did the whole routine, tested the hallway detector, scribbled on his clipboard, while murmuring the real story. Yesterday Jenna offered him $50 for a copy of my new room key. Told her no way and reported it to management, he said. They weren't happy. My stomach flipped. $50 and zero shame, she was that desperate to get back into my space. Ryan finished his inspection and left like nothing had happened. 2 days later, our landlord showed up in a suit that looked like it hated him. I heard Jenna's door crack open, then her shriek when he handed her an official lease violation notice. 30 days to correct her behavior or face eviction for attempting to bribe building staff for unauthorized key access. The screaming from her room went on for an hour after he left. I brewed tea and let the kettle whistle right over it. 3 days after that I was home alone swapping a load of laundry when another knock came. A guy in a city health department jacket stood there with a clipboard. Complained about bed bugs in this unit. Need to inspect. Of course there was. I let him in anyway. He checked everything, both bedrooms, the couch, the chairs, even lifted my mattress and ran a flashlight under the slats. 20 minutes later he sighed, irritated. Found nothing. False complaints like this waste our time when we've got real infestations to handle. He handed me a report stating no evidence of bedbugs and noting the complaint appeared unfounded. I scanned it immediately and emailed Leilani. She called within 5 minutes, energized. This is perfect. Filing a false report to a government agency is harassment. Save the original, this strengthens your case. I just tucked the report into my evidence folder when my phone rang. My manager sounded furious. Some guy just showed up asking for you. When I told him you weren't on the schedule today, he started yelling that you need to stop causing problems for his girlfriend. I had to kick him out. It was Tom. He's banned from the restaurant now. You okay? I said I was fine. She didn't buy it and insisted on walking me to my car after every shift for the next week. 2 nights later, Tom showed up again during dinner rush. I was balancing a tray when I saw him walk in. My manager clocked him at the same time and cut him off. You need to leave now. I just need 1 minute to talk to her, he protested, trying to push past. Her phone was already dialing the cops, and 2 kitchen guys materialized like bouncers. Tom backed off but parked outside and sat in his car until my shift ended. My manager and 2 cooks walked me to my car, waited until he drove away, then let me go. I could have cried from the relief and the rage at the same time. The next morning I marched straight to the police station and filed another report. The officer pulled up my previous statements about the keys and nodded like pieces were snapping together. Multiple incidents now. With this documentation, we can potentially pursue harassment charges. You might also consider a restraining order. I spent 2 hours giving a full statement, filling out forms, wondering how my life had turned into court paperwork because my roommate couldn't keep out of my bed. That night, Jenna was waiting in the living room when I got home. Eyes red, voice small. She launched into a speech about stress and finals and how sorry she was. I pulled out my phone and hit record. She kept talking, how she never meant for it to get this bad, how she and Tom just needed somewhere nice to study, and I gave her nothing. No nods. No soothing. Just a steady camera and the truth falling out of her mouth. The next morning, Alex texted, "I have something you need to see." He forwarded an entire thread of messages with Jenna where she admitted she'd been using my bed and handing out copies of my key. Her excuse? Her mattress was uncomfortable. Mine was better. I sent everything to Leilani. 10 minutes later, my phone rang. "This is exactly what we needed," she said. "Come in this afternoon. We'll file for an emergency restraining order to keep her out of your personal space completely." The paperwork took 3 hours, but the stack of evidence, police reports, photos, timestamps, the health department's clean inspection, Ryan's note about the bribe, Alex's screenshots, made our case solid. The court date landed for the following week, and for the first time I could see daylight through the mess. 3 days before court, I came home to find Jenna packing boxes in the living room like a tornado in leggings. "I found someone to take over my part of the lease," she announced. "I'll be out by the weekend." Relief washed over me and suspicion. She made a big show of placing a key on the kitchen counter, but we both knew copies were circulating like party favors. I called the landlord immediately and asked to switch units. Maybe he finally grasped the liability because he offered me a nicer apartment on the 7th floor for the same rent. Ryan would personally change every lock and hand the keys to me only. Moving day, Jasmine arrived at 7 a.m. with coffee and boxes. Alex pulled up an hour later with his truck, and my manager showed up on her day off, hair in a messy bun, sleeves rolled, to help. In under 4 hours, we had everything upstairs. Ryan was on his knees at my door installing a brand new deadbolt. He pressed 3 keys into my hand directly, making sure I saw there were no copies. The new place breathed differently, better light, thicker walls, a view of the park instead of the dumpsters. I set my bed in the corner where I could see the door and both windows. Not out of fear anymore, out of choice. A layout that made me feel steady. About a week later, Alex texted me wild news. Jenna's new roommate had already kicked her out after catching her going through the closet. The girl posted a warning in a local housing group, and the comments section filled with similar stories. The pattern wasn't just real, it was public. And best of all, it wasn't my problem anymore. The former tenant I'd spoken to messaged again. She was starting a private Facebook group for people who dealt with roommates like Jenna. Within 2 days, we had 15 members sharing advice, tenant advocacy contacts, and war stories. Some were worse than mine: identity theft, stolen belongings. But in that space, none of us sounded crazy. We sounded like survivors who compared notes. Meanwhile, my new apartment started to feel like home. I bought the soft blue sheets I'd been eyeing forever, placed my furniture just so, and for the first time in months, slept through the night without flinching at every hallway footstep. While I was unpacking kitchen boxes one afternoon, my phone pinged, an Instagram message request from Tom. "Hey, I know you probably hate me, but..." 3 paragraphs of apologies about not meaning for things to spiral, how he was just a college student trying to graduate, how he didn't want legal trouble on his record. I screenshotted every word and forwarded it to Leilani. No response to him. She'd told me not to engage while the case was active, and I was finally good at following smart advice. The next few weeks blurred into something almost boring, gloriously boring. I slept. I ate actual meals. I cooked in my kitchen like it wasn't a war zone. Summer tourists packed the restaurant. I picked up extra shifts and started a furniture fund. 3 months into the new place, my manager called me into her office after lunch rush. My stomach dipped when I saw the folder, then she smiled. The district manager had approved my promotion to shift supervisor. The raise was bigger than I expected. For the first time, I could cover rent without doing math gymnastics. I signed the paperwork and she handed me a new name tag with supervisor under my name. I held it like a medal. Alex checked in every couple of weeks, sending updates from therapy. He was unpacking why he'd ignored so many red flags and learning about gaslighting. We met for coffee a few times, awkward at first, then oddly comforting. We were 2 people who'd been spun around the same storm. He told me his therapist said Jenna showed classic narcissistic traits. Victims often don't realize what's happening until they're isolated. That landed like an echo. Jasmine and I adopted a Sunday ritual, brunch at the diner near my building. She'd do online classes while I meal prepped for the week. One Sunday, she looked up and deadpanned, "Jenna should pay me a finder's fee for introducing us because I've never had a better friend." We laughed until my stomach hurt. She had a key to my place now by invitation and watered my plants when I worked nights. Ryan stopped by one afternoon to check the smoke detectors and mention new building policies, written documentation for any key copies, tenant signatures acknowledging that unauthorized duplication means immediate lease termination. He handed me a printed notice. My case had pushed management to fix the system. It felt like the first domino I'd managed to tip the right way. On my way to the grocery store, I literally bumped into one of the friends who'd taken Jenna's side. She flushed, launched into apologies, said she didn't realize how bad things were, that Jenna's lies were so convincing. I told her I appreciated the apology and kept walking. Forgiveness didn't mean I needed that circle back in my life. 6 months after I moved, my sister came to visit. We were curled up on my couch watching a movie when she paused it and stared at me. "You look different," she said. "Healthier. Calmer. Like you exhaled for the first time in a year." I realized I hadn't checked the locks in hours. My shoulders weren't glued to my ears. The silence in my apartment felt peaceful, not ominous. We cooked together, went shopping, and for 3 days I lived like a normal person. I bought new soft gray sheets, arranged my room so I could see the door and windows, only this time it wasn't paranoia, it was preference. Work was steady and good. I trained new servers, handled inventory, and for the first time in ages, I had a growing emergency fund in a separate account with my name on it. I'd learned to set boundaries and to speak up when something felt wrong. Sometimes I thought about the whole nightmare with Jenna and felt grateful in a twisted way. It taught me exactly what I would never accept again. And that knowledge, more than the keys, more than the lock, more than the paperwork, felt like the strongest deadbolt of all. Thanks for watching. Today's train wreck is over, but tomorrow's ride is already on track. Subscribe so you don't miss it.